I got tears in my eyes already.
Get to be tears in the eyes.
Look at me nuts. I'm gonna see that blow out the mustache of those.
The Mother Teresa Awards recognize those who have overcome the severest handicaps and disadvantages to help others in their communities. The young, the old, black and white.
I want to first ask you about Lauren Ridloff in Eternals, because obviously she broke such huge ground in that role when it came to deaf representation. Coming into the MCU together, did you guys sort of talk, do you trade notes about sort of the movement that is clearly afoot and maybe long overdue here?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Definitely.
In terms of deaf representation, but also in terms of indigenous representation, how important is that aspect of the series for you as well?
Our Native American friends, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Well.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
But this really, I felt it in my stomach when I saw the Doctor Who news. It means the world.
Never give up. Never surrender. Yes, which also happens to be the title of one of my favorite movies right here. And not because the lead character, played by Kurt McKinney, is called Jason. It's just a very good, awesome father-son martial arts beat-em-up starring a then unknown Jean-Claude Van Damme. But why do I mention that? Well, the same reason why I make these videos for you lovely ladies and gentlemen out there. Because I hate modern day entertainment for the modern day audience. You know, those cave trolls that come out when something is against the grain and they're forcing corporate media or more importantly, the creators behind beloved characters to pander to their gaslighting. And guess what? It's not working.
On today's episode of Kung Fu Hot Dog.
Hey, thank you, X, for allowing us to rate an absurd comment like this one from Mr. Unapologetically Black. Well, quite clearly, if you don't like the color of your own skin, why are you being unapologetic about it? Huh? Submit. You're welcome. I think the tide is turning. I think it's absolutely stupendous. It's even turning and going against the grain because I make these videos not for the money, not for the glory, but when I see comments in my videos where people have had a long day at work and they come home and they just want to see some goofball like me making them smile for a few moments in their life, well, you know what? My job here, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely done.
We've known each other a long time.
For the modern day audience.
So let's get ready, okay?
Hey, hey,
hey! Keith here. Welcome to a show in a glass of its own.
Yes, Thames Television, the station with knockers. Excuse me, there's one now. Yes, can I help you?
Politiekorpsen van 10 Europese landen hebben een grote mensensmokkelbende opgerold.
And what that really means is...
We're at that point, ladies and gentlemen, where once again we are flogging a woke dead horse to death. What am I talking about, you might be asking? Well, it's the same thing that was a reoccurring nightmare all of last year. If a big diverse movie was being released, especially by Disney or Marvel, you can guarantee on the red carpet of said premiere, you will get the usual diatribe of absolute cringe pouring forth from these performers' mouths.
Thank you very much.
What did you say, nigga?
Take this Joe, for instance, who was interviewing Ryan Coogler, who I believe has been held hostage, but I'll give you my 10 cents about that in a few moments. But they get the most masculine, the most heterosexual of men to interview key members of Wakanda Forever.
Seems Hollywood is beginning to become more inclusive on screen. How do you feel like you're making an impact for this to happen? And what other...
It's so inclusive. When did this happen? Oh my God.
Barriers are you hoping will break in Hollywood to ensure Latinx actors are included and have their stories told?
Is this guy sure he's not breaking into something else? If you get my drift.
I think it's a great question.
It's an amazing question because we have this opportunity to notch Alex. I am every Latin person in this movie for Chadwick, for that legacy, because...
Oh, Chadwick Boseman, the guy who sadly passed away, but you refuse to replace because, hey, you know what? If we get another black actor to replace him, it's a problem. It was actually a problem because no one wanted female Black Pantheress, did they? And they got it, and the film tanked at the box office. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. I'm going to do a Michael Ironside and scanner myself.
When coming out the first Black Panther movie, I feel represented, and it's not necessary.
Hang on a minute, she's a Latina, but she felt represented at the first Black Panther film in 2018. You know, the film that Marvel said was the first black Marvel superhero ever, forgetting Blade in 1998. But this is a Latina woman. How can you look at a black person on the screen and say, I relate to them? Because you're not exactly the same complexion, are you, love? This woman's crazy. This is a loco.
It's not necessary my culture, you know, but I feel
it's not necessarily her culture, but
representation.
Oh, there's that word again. Oh gosh.
Black Panther is the perfect movie for include the Latin.
Yeah, you got a submariner with a dad bod who's not the true submariner from the comics, who now turns out to be an alleged sexual offender. Oopsie doopsie.
I can be a superhero in my own story, not just as actress.
Where have I heard that narrative before about female directors who are now activists and they will put their fear of God into men because they are women? Oh, that's who it is. Charmaine, she who will be obeyed, Chinoy. Lucasfilm's brand new hire, who's going to be a fire in no time at all because she's going to put the fear of women into men. Vagina alert!
Everything. I am a storyteller and an activist, and my body of work over the last 20 years has been guided by my activism, and every single piece of work that I've ever created has a piece of activism in it. It could be very overt or it could be covert, but it is there. And I think that as a storyteller, I'm not sure if all of you know this, but I'm not a trained filmmaker, so I never went to film school.
Everybody's doing the John Campea thing now. Let's go into a meltdown against the anti-woke. Wah! And this is the latest instance, folks. A latest casualty of the John Campea meltdown syndrome. John Roker, who used to be a co-pilot with Mr. Campea on the bad old days of Collider. Wait until you hear how he defends a woman and her vagina taking over Star Wars.
Men, reach down into your pants, find your fucking balls and your cock, and be okay with it. We can take a woman directing a film in Star Wars and live. We're all gonna fucking survive. I swear to God, you guys want to come off like you're tough motherfuckers and you're woke.
Now, Ryan Coogler, personally, he was a promising film director. I mean, he made Fruitvale Station, which I watched a few moments of, and it's absolutely depressing as hell. Then he made the first Creed film, and the guy definitely has a lot of talent. But what I think has happened, Marvel backed up a truck with lots of money to his very reasonable sized mansion and said, Ryan, we want you to be our new activist. We want you to support our woke ideology. Can you do that for us? Here's a few million to keep you going. You can have carte blanche to do whatever you want. And of course, who is Ryan Coogler to turn down millions of dollars? In fact, this is the same guy who is going to reboot and retextualize The X-Files. That's right, that's the gentleman who feels the old series of The X-Files was probably too white in its depiction of characters, not enough diversity, which is the topic of my video today. God, that was actually a pretty good segue. Aren't you impressed, boys and girls?
It's more than a movie. It's so special, just the bond that we had, everything that we went through, the training,
Is that the bonds that you had with your non-white cast members as opposed to a mixture of cast members, huh?
Making a movie of this magnitude, it's difficult enough already, but you had the pandemic, it's even more complicated, but everyone came together and we worked.
There's that phrase again.
I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home.
I'll tell you what is amazing. Salma Hayek's tits, they never seem to droop. I mean, if there's somebody who's a full-time massager for her breasts, can I have that job, please?
Too, you know, this film has such diversity, such inclusion.
Oh no, they've given her a few extra $1,000 so she too can get her diversity quotas in this interview.
International cast.
Guys, look at the moon.
Salma, can we just look at your moons? Because those are a pair of orbs I want to smother me all day and all the night. Quoting the Kinks.
As person, as woman, I can be a superhero. I can change my own story. I can change the narrative.
Of course you can. You can. No one's stopping you, love, except... No. Just create your own stories. How about that? No messaging, no agenda, no indoctrination of families and the young kids. Just entertainment. Entertainment, ladies and gentlemen, as we know it. Jennifer Connelly. And those magnificent breasts, which sadly have now been reduced by the madam herself. Jen, how could you? I thought you and I meant something. Titles of yesteryear, folks. You just never will get these sort of things again. Although I do see a bit of a fight back in Hollywood at the moment, especially with Sydney Sweeney showing what a great body she has in Anything But You, but probably could have had an extra T on it. And more recently, we had Katsuhiro Harada, the main lead director for Tekken 8, who responded to an idiot called Unapologetically Black, because apparently you have to be very, very virtue signaling about that particular title on Twitter, because this person had an issue with the fact that, oh, the people behind Tekken 8 are racist. All they want to do is keep their Latino and white fighters, which in itself is already racist. When in fact, if this moron had looked at the roster of the previous Tekken games, you've got a dancing bear, for crying out loud, who kicks ass. You've got many diversities in there. And you know what? You didn't mind it because the game is crazy anyway. And as part of a fantastical martial arts world, why wouldn't you have that? But here's what Mr. Harada said to Miss or Mrs. Unapologetically Black. If you think you can just claim anything that way and it will pass, you are mistaken. Leroy and Raven will kick your ass. Leroy and Raven are the two brand new black characters. One's got cool white dreadlocks and sunglasses and a Morpheus overcoat kicking people's asses. So I already like that guy. And they're going to be part of the new Tekken 8 roster. Come to think of it, there are no Japanese characters in the American cinemas and movies that I love. But I have never felt discriminated against because of it. Common sense, right, folks? What do you think is the crucial difference between you and me? I am sure you don't understand. Oh, you are not logical at all. And you are simply a delusional person who doesn't even realize that even if it were an emotional argument, it doesn't make sense. Oof. What more can I say, ladies and gentlemen, except this? I'm going to leave you with a compendium, a montage of examples where we have had diversity in Hollywood for many years. But of course, I want you to remember this, folks. When you hear an actor of today's stature, you know, they don't need an equity card to qualify, just a gender reassignment and the right skin tone. When they babble forth their verbal diarrhea that we need more inclusion, we need more diversity, we need more X, Y, and Z representation, just come back to this video and remind yourselves why none of that is true. And on that one, ladies and gentlemen, if you were me and if I were you, you better come back for the next video.
I have just loved seeing the strides taken in terms of representation.
Darwin and I were members of an actors' workshop right here in Los Angeles. And I got to know and to meet John through Darwin Justin. They were neighbors, Darwin and John Carpenter.
You must be serious about keeping me alive.
I want all of us alive.
And I think like there's a lot more that we can do.
Your moment or your favorite moment acting, or like
maybe a pivotal
role
moment. I think pivotal was probably Brother from Another Planet, John Sayles.
Right.
Yes. I think, you know, I was a young actor and got an opportunity to play a part where I couldn't speak.
Like they were turning it around, they're going hard, and then all that like momentum that I felt, like that sense of I don't have to be afraid to like, let's have these two characters kiss. Let's in the background. Like I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to like if you see anything queer in the show, I'm proud of them. But like I just was like, no one would stop me, and no one was trying to stop me.
You have offended my family, and you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
This is what's supposed to happen.
Good morning, Dr. Silberman. How's the knee?
Fine, Sarah. She stabbed me in the kneecap with my pen a few weeks ago.
There's a lot more. There's a lot being done.
Yeah,
there's a lot of wonderful things being done.
I don't mean anything by this, but is there any particular reason why he's black?
Sure. I wanted him to be perfect.
This is what's supposed to happen. How do you feel?
Well, I'm so glad it's out now because we love him, don't we?
Fuck no! But yeah, just seeing the diversity on screen has been great, and pushing that is, yeah.
How about no? You've got a problem with smaller people.
I don't have a problem with small people. Okay? I don't. I just don't want you making my coffee.
You know what? Up yours.
I know. Little man, watch out!